Welcome to the Drop the Needle podcast, your backstage pass to the mystical realm. I'm your host, Jim Allstott, and here, gifted souls step up to the mic sharing their spiritual journey. We're hitting the high notes and the low notes of their awakening, creating a symphony of enlightenment. This isn't just another interview show. This is where divine insights are channeled and universal truths are revealed. So crank up your stereo and sit back, because who knows, this just might help you compose the next transformative chapter of your soul's purpose. Are you ready? Let's go. Welcome back. This is the Drop the Needle podcast. I'm Jim Allstott. My guest today has spent decades helping people stop searching for who they are and start recognizing who they've always been. Evolutionary astrologer and metaphysical counselor, Jeanne Comeau. Welcome,
Hello,
Jeannie.
Jim. Oh, thank you. I had to jump straight in there. I'm super excited to be here with you today.
I'll tell you what, I have been looking forward to this since the day we spoke. I really have. And your background is really quite something. So what I'm going to do, if you don't mind, is for you to share your background a little with everyone. You like growing up, work, what brought you into the world of evolutionary astrology, that sort of thing.
Well, I was born in the small town of Berlin in New Hampshire in the White Mountains. To give everybody a visual, I happen to know it was a Monday night and it was raining in July. So that kind of gives me a visual. I really think I have a memory, if you can imagine that, of that evening in the hospital. However, landed in Massachusetts later in life, but I'm the fourth of 9 children, so that's quite a large family.
Yeah.
And we ended up being a single family, meaning Dad was not capable of being a dad that could take care of us. So, but I she's passed now, a wonderful mom. I was her right-hand gal, had 5 younger siblings, and I grew up caretaking. While Mom was working. So that was all great. There was a lot of discipline, but I now know, Jim, since I know my stars and I know my astrology, that role I was born into was the role I was meant to be born into. It's all in my chart. And so discipline was in the household, but discipline was also in me. So I fell into that role really quite nicely. I then went through the high school. Mom said, there was no money for college, but Mom said, you'll walk across that stage or else. So we certainly all did do that. And some college, and landed in technology eventually. So with me, I interviewed for a position once, and then my career just followed and followed and followed. It was one door opening after another. Part owner of a software development company, restaurateur, etiquette business, dining and social etiquette for children and adults. I did that. That was a lot of fun. And landed in financial technology for the last 20 years of my professional career at a big financial bank. And I liked that a lot for a lot of reasons. We'll leave that for another conversation. But there was always something more calling. And the something more was, what was I going to do? See, when I was very young, sitting on the cement steps of the housing projects, when I was very young, I had a vision, I had a dream of who I was going to be. And it was going to be a businesswoman. And I couldn't even spell business. That was the one word I kept messing on the spelling bee. But I had a vision of what I was going to become and who I was, not become, but the essence of me, what was going to be my mission in the world. And I'm happy to say I'm doing it now. I can actually tie back to the energy of that woman that I felt at that very young age. I exited corporate technology a couple of years ago now. It's been 2 years in February. My choice. I just really felt it was time. But along the way, and I'm trying to make a long story very short, along the way, I had become a John Maxwell leadership coach because I was always about adding value to others, even with the etiquette business, always about adding value to others. And into metaphysics, and the metaphysical university was the COVID gift for me. It really allowed me to find what I wanted and hunker down. 6 years later, I earned the doctorate.
That's awesome.
And so that is awesome. But it instilled in me a lot of understanding of the meaning of life and why we're all here. Took away all of the dogma, all of the everything. If I never did anything with it in terms of adding value to others, which is what I do with my business, if I never did anything with it, I wanted it for me. I wanted to know inside of me, what was it all about? How would I make sense of all of this? And so through metaphysics and leaving corporate, starting a holistic life purpose counseling business, and getting myself back to school to learn all about evolutionary astrology, which I've done that as well. And now my business is focused on leading others to live their authentic life. Who were you created to be? Okay, what were you created to do and have? But who were you truly created to be? What is your soul's calling? And I believe that a lot of the pain that people live in their lifetime is because they're not oriented with who they really are. And they're not working in the space of becoming who they came here to be, working with all the energies that they came in with. And so it's like the square peg not fitting into the round hole, if you will.
Yeah.
A lifetime full of mental machinations where so many people are hurting. They seek various healing modalities. So this is a big part of what drove me to really want to start this business. And I'll move off from this answer shortly, Jim. But like everybody else, I a library full of self-help books.
Sure.
One energy healer after another. That was after the medical people just want to give you Prozac, right?
Yeah.
So
right.
all, balance my energy, do all of these things, and yet I'm still not in tune. I'm still not humming along, right? And so my work with people is, it starts with evolutionary astrology, understanding the blueprint you came in with, and living that blueprint is what it's all about. A holistic counseling is the longer program where I work with people, day in, day out, and making that happen. However, I believe when we know who we really are, when we know thyself, when we know who we really are, the pain goes away, because you can't unknow what you know. Right? You can't unknow what you know.
Yeah.
So when you know who you are, it's not like you can play the victim much longer and go look outside yourself for somebody to fix you. Because my work orients people to understand their inner psychology and to work with, I don't want to say the cards you were dealt, let's say the cards you chose,
Right.
as I read in the last chapter of your book. So this is the life that we chose to live. And when we have the map in front of us, it just gets better.
That is so cool. And you know what? And I'm not going to lie to you. With that opening and the description of your life, we're going to have another episode. So, and I'll listen to that and write out all my notes, because there were so many things that I was like, oh, and I had to stop myself. That's why you heard me go, because I'm normally like, hey, because I'll forget it. The ADHD in me just really kicks in, and it's an overdrive when there's things that pop up that are interesting to me. And there were probably a dozen of
it's been
topics
a
that we could
wonderful
have
journey.
gone.
Wonderful.
I bet. And to hear it described in such a way is really quite something as well. Because I know that I started it by saying your background and your life is really quite something. And I guess it's no surprise it was a bookend by me just saying that. But one of the things that stood out to me, there's a couple. So you were in a Fortune 500 company, a global IT organization.
Absolutely.
And
senior program manager of technology. Yes.
Right. And so you walked away from that. So that was something. So that draw, that pull must have been incredible. Is the only thing that came to mind, that it was just like, I have to do this or something bad's going to happen to me. I don't know. And I'm sure it wasn't like that, but we often say we have to, right?
It did get to be like that. You know, I'm not 40, I'm not 50, I'm beyond that. However, it will happen to everybody if it hasn't happened yet, depending on what decade our
I don't
audience
know that anybody would believe you,
individuals
by
are
the way,
in.
for saying
I know you don't know it until you, thank you for that. But no, when you get on in the decades, you search for more. You
Yes.
search for more meaning of life, and
Yes.
it's not about the building anymore, and it's certainly not about the having anymore. And so there was enough have to be comfortable, you see.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
the way corporate America is going, and global corporate is going, it's a very different world than when I came into it. I found that I wasn't able to contribute to the team in the way that I needed to in my day-to-day job. I always thrived in 20 years of that particular company. I
Mm-hmm.
thrived there because I managed global IT teams, and I always ensured that everybody was developed personally, and I did everything to bring the team success. And, corporate America, especially after COVID, it started to change to the point where it wasn't
Yeah.
about any of that anymore, no matter
No.
what they were saying.
Bottom line, let's get it.
It
Bottom
was the
line.
bottom line. And
Yep.
I found that my life was created for more than that. My life was created for more than managers who were so far afield from reality, dictating how I would manage my teams.
And that's okay. There were a couple of things that popped in my mind. So I don't know if you recall or not, because, oh, by the way, everyone, I had a session with Jeannie to kind of check everything out before we we did this. And there's a few reasons that I wanted to do this, because I thought the timing of it was just perfect because of the book that's coming out soon, and we want to talk about that. But the fact that the ladder climbing versus legacy piece, and so where I started to go with this is, I don't know if you recall, but I've been involved with talent acquisition and recruiting, executive
I do
recruiting
remember.
for 26 years. So that topic has come up several times. And as you could well imagine, the people that I started this work with, that I'm still in touch with, are in that stage right now where they're just like, you know what? It's not about that next summit that I can hit. It's the legacy that I leave behind. And that is so true and also so important. And I think there comes a point in time in everyone's life where it's no longer about, money's always important. So don't get me wrong, but it's not the most important thing.
Absolutely.
And it's, how do you want to be remembered? Do you want to be remembered as that, petty, cutthroat, just in it for the money person? Or do you want to be remembered for the person that was the best boss, the best mentor and leader you've ever had in your life, that set the course for somebody that is in the beginning stages of their life? Which is why when you're talking about that makes sense to me from seeing it on a regular basis, right? So that was fantastic.
What's interesting is one of my programs that I also teach or do masterminds on is called "Put Your Dream to the Test," and it's a book written by John Maxwell, the famous leadership author. And so, put your dream to the test. Ask 10 questions that you seek to answer to the affirmative. And if you can say yes to all of these 10 questions, then you're really testing your dream. It's probably going to come true, right?
Right.
Question number 10, I believe it is the question of significance. Will it add significance? Will it build your legacy? And there are many questions there are 10. Before I left corporate and I was teaching this program, I could not answer all of those questions. Yes,
Sure.
I can now.
Yeah.
I can now.
I bet you can.
There's even the money question. Where are you going to put your money? Well, I'm going to put my money on whatever it is that I can do to to work with more people to orient
Mhm.
them to their the map of their life.
So, but that's not something that is for everyone, though, too, because and we've talked about this even before the show, that there are certain people, like I feel that way, because when having my own business or businesses,
Hmm.
I believe in investing in myself. And I'll tell people, I'll always bet on myself because I know that I'll die trying. I'll just keep going and will it to happen. But sometimes there are people that just don't comprehend that cut bait. Well, and it reminds me of the story of the woman who was swimming across the English Channel. And she's in the channel in the frigid waters, and she's going and there's the fog that sets in, and she lost the rescue boat, but she knows she's headed in the right direction. And she has the rescue boat come up, or the tag along, but whatever you call that. And she said, I can't do it anymore. And she was 100 yards away from the shore, which was nothing. Nothing. That's what happens with people when you prematurely silence that dream or that vision. You're just left
It's
with
fear.
what?
It's
Yes.
fear. See,
Yeah.
I've experienced that in my own lifetime, and I liken it to okay, I'm on the bunny slope and I'm going to learn how to ski, which I never did. But I'm on the bunny slope and I'm going to learn how to ski, and it's happening. It's happening. Oh my God, I'm going, and I make myself fall.
Oh yeah.
Why? Why? I don't know
Hmm.
why. It's fear. Fear of what? Actually doing it, or fear of
Yes.
falling?
Right. I think
You
it's
know?
more. Well, I think for a lot of people, you
Yeah.
always hear
So
that fear of failure or fear of success.
right.
Well, they're kind of both the same because it's still wrapped around in fear.
I can say this in looking at in analyzing a birth chart, we uncover where the fears come from.
That's beautiful. I think that's so important for people to find. It
It's
really is.
doable. It's doable.
So if you're okay with this, and I wasn't kidding, I want to hit you up for another episode.
I'd be delighted to go into
Wonderful.
that a lot deeper. There's some
Good.
powerful beauty there, actually.
Good. Because we have to get to our questions now because we only have so much time. I wish it would be so nice to have, like, Joe Rogan is one of those guys that can have a guest on for 3 hours. I'm not Joe Rogan. Maybe
Right. That's
someday.
okay.
Maybe
That's
someday.
okay. I like Jim.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So today's episode, just so everyone knows, is I wanted everyone to have a chance to get to meet Jeannie and understand what it is that she does. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to ask her a few questions like I normally ask. And then we're going to go over my chart from our session together, because there's so many significant things.
So much there.
Yeah. And I'm going to ask some questions that have been percolating in my mind about about what's going on currently and moving forward in the next 6 years. So I guess without further ado, I'm going to get to these questions.
Okay.
So there's a phrase I keep coming back to in your work: living from the inside out. So in spiritual circles, people talk about that constantly, right?
Right.
But what does it actually look like on a regular day when you're exhausted and the world wants something from you that doesn't match what you're becoming?
It takes discipline, number one. So it takes discipline to remember that you are not what you see. You are so much more. So it takes discipline to sort of be the fly on the wall, to use that terminology, to center yourself, and maybe people can resonate with this, and to see yourself in the midst of your own reality game, because that's what it is. So what I mean by living from the inside out is our energy, and everything is energy. The energy that moves us, moves our avatar, and the energy that works in the world and all about us is within. And it's not out there. It's within. It's right here in the center, in the heart. It's within. So living from the inside out, to me, is being attuned with the self of my energy and attune with the energy of my blueprint, and understanding how that energy is playing out in what I perceive as reality.
And that's a good point, the perception piece. But one of the things I almost wanted to stop you and say more about that. When you said what you see in the mirror is not who you really are.
Mm-hmm. It's made up. It's made up of what we're primarily led to believe we are.
Like from beliefs and patterns and things like that, or so.
And our religion and everything that has formed our personality in this lifetime.
Okay.
But it's not who we are. Not truly.
Cool.
We are, that. Humans are great adapters. We adapt in all situations. And I was talking earlier about all the self-help books, right? Well, they're needed because we're lost. We get lost in becoming the something that we aren't.
The authentic self, yes.
From childhood,
yes.
it's all there. And so again,
parents want better for their kids too, right? That's when the comparison.
Parents, absolutely, they do. They really, really do, and they do their very best. And we love them for that. And yet we must understand, I remember saying to myself as a young child, they were my parents, they did the best they could. They did the best they could. Or how very often we can look at our parents and wish as children we had done things differently. Done things better, made it better, all the things that mom wanted, right? And then I came up with I was very young, but it sort of like settled me out. I said, but I was just the child. I wasn't supposed to have to do that. It wasn't my role to fix the situation.
No.
Right. So we live in a image of ourselves that's not created by who we really are, for the most part. And a lot of people, the lost people, that's where they are.
So one of the other things that I was thinking about when it came to you is that, and this is really neat because it's on your website, that you describe yourself as once being an embarrassed keeper of endless dreams, missed goals, and a library of self-help books, which you
and I wrote that myself. No
that's awesome.
That poured out of me one day when I was starting my website.
It's incredibly honest, by the way.
It absolutely is. The end. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, but what were you embarrassed about exactly?
Oh,
and when did the embarrassment turn into the data that helped you catapult or propel you?
That's a great question, Jim. What was I embarrassed by? Well, early on in life, I was very embarrassed having grown up in housing projects. So let's just put that environmental thing on me.
Yeah.
All right. That's very different. And then, and knowing more about my chart, I became embarrassed that I didn't excel at the professional goals that I had in mind, although I did very well, but I always wanted to say,
what kind of goal did you have?
So now I have to say,
emperor of IT.
Now I have to say I have like 6 planets in the sign Virgo. And so Virgo is the sign of perfection. So for me, all right, I was always, there had to be a better one, a better one, a better one. So I look at my blueprint.
Gotcha.
And so I was always striving for better, better, best. But there were endless dreams, and they were broken, all along the way. But I always had the striving, thank goodness.
Sure. Well, that comes with discipline. That's when
Well, yeah, 6 planets in
discipline.
Virgo will give you all the discipline you need.
Well, I mean, that's where a lot of people think you just got to motivate them. You got to motivate them. And motivation dies where discipline
Yes,
takes over, and
yes,
discipline will finish your race. Um,
yes.
it really, there's a huge difference, and
But
there's
that
a
was a
difference in
great
opinion.
question, and I did, the library of all of the books.
Sure. Well,
Oh,
so when did that all turn into the data that was then going to propel
you
you
know,
to
I'm
where you
I'm
are?
gonna I will tell you, I'm thinking a big thing that happened for me, just a side story, is Gallup's Clifton Strengths Finder. So it's an
Mm,
assessment test. If are you familiar
yeah.
with that one? Right.
Yes, I am.
Yes. So back in a long time ago, 2014, through a Bible study group, this preacher, this minister, pastor,
Mm,
was running Find Your Life Purpose. And I thought, oh,
mm.
find my life purpose. That'd be great. So
Wouldn't it?
I enter his program. I never did find it then. That was disappointing, of course. But I was introduced to Strengths Finder, and I had my Strengths Finder assessment done. That was the first thing. Now I had done Myers and all these other things. They
Sure.
said things, but it was Strengths Finder that really gave me words that I start to understand who
Hmm.
I was. And then the big one, and it was before COVID, Jim, I had always been into astrology, always reading from my friends and doing things
Hmm.
like that. But January, before COVID hit, I decided to really study my astrology and chart the whole thing going back.
Oh, wow.
And I saw the whole trajectory of my life.
What
And
an
that
epiphany that must have been.
really, it was incredible. It was incredible. Showed me the power of it all. And it it sort of like quieted everything down for me. It
Hmm.
quieted everything down for me. I knew myself at a level that I had never known myself before. So with that comes a self-acceptance. And I saw what I needed to be doing in this lifetime, which is what I do now in my work. But without that assessment, I wouldn't have seen that.
That's
Wouldn't have seen it.
very cool. And thank you for sharing that. And I just
Mhm.
thought of something. One of the other questions, part of the old ADHD um, joys is I forget things sometimes because I'm going on to the next. And one of those things was I wanted you to maybe take just a moment to talk about the difference in astrology, because you do evolutionary astrology rather than that sun and sign, although that's part of it, but
That is
you know
it.
what I mean.
Yes,
Um,
I do. So astrology has been practiced for centuries, and I won't go to the history of it. But over the centuries, it's changed. In the earlier times, it was all about harvesting and planting and seasonal astrology. It was
mhm,
all
yes.
about when to coronate a king. It
Hmm.
was really only kings and queens and priests and priestesses would practice astrology. The regular person didn't have access to it. It was off limits for them, by the way.
Hmm.
And so it's got a long history, but it has a sordid past. It's seen as a parlor game somewhat, because a lot of astrologers have used it as prediction. I
Uh,
don't do predictive astrology.
gotcha.
I cannot tell you what's going to happen in your lifetime. I can tell you what the energy is going to be, and I can tell you what you can anticipate. In other words, how to dress for the weather. So, number
Gotcha.
one, it's not predictive astrology, and it goes further than the next type of astrology we should think about is personality.
Hmm.
So, yes,
Yes.
of course, I use the planets, I use the houses, but I go beyond strict. You are a Leo or you are an Aquarian, so then therefore these are your
Right.
highs, these are your lows, and nothing in between.
Right. Which we
Evolutionary
know is not
astro
true.
Not true.
There's a lot of in between and
But
outside
like
of that.
But like society and the raising of human consciousness, astrology has grown.
Hmm.
And in the 1930s, 1920s, it started coming in and merging with psychology. Of course, Freud was out there doing his bit, and Jung was out there doing.
Hmm.
Who Jung, by the way, was a practicing astrologer.
I didn't
And
know that.
yes, and his daughter, and
Wow.
there are Jungian astrologers. Absolutely, he brought us the archetypes. Carl Jung Carl Jung said that he could tell more about a person with their chart in 2 hours looking at their chart than weeks of them sitting on his couch.
Wow.
And I know that to be true. And you saw that in your reading,
Yes.
in your consultation. Yes. It's uncanny. So evolutionary astrology, to come back to that question, is soul-centered astrology. It's spiritual astrology. It is the type of astrology that asks, why do you have the chart you have? Why?
Yeah.
Why are those planets positioned where they are? What's the geometry of your planetary aspects? And by the way, your birth chart is one of a kind. Even if you were a twin, guarantee it's going to be different. It absolutely is different. And so everybody's birth chart is completely unique. It is a picture of the energy in the sky. Everything is vibration. Everything's vibration. That's how it works.
Right.
Gets really complicated, but it's the picture of the sky at the moment in time of your birth, in the place of your birth, of course. And so evolutionary astrology takes it far further. It looks at the soul's purpose for incarnating into this lifetime. Its premise is reincarnation. I believe your audience will be cool with that. And
we talked about that specifically, by the way.
We talked about it in your chart. Yeah. It was prevalent. And I didn't, when we did your reading, which we'll be coming into, I didn't know you.
No.
I didn't know. And I showed you things in your chart which absolutely resonated with things you've experienced and written about in your book.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It was a slap in the head. That's for sure.
Evolutionary astrology is a merger of spirituality and humanistic psychology, which we can think Jungian, your Carl Jung type, and psychology and philosophy. So it's all of these things coming together, and metaphysics, of course.
So can I want to ask a question from your answer, if I can, because you were saying that, so essentially your birth chart's not a prediction, right? It's a symbolic language of sorts. But where I'd really like to push back on this is just a little.
Well, you can push back.
Okay, is if a chart can reveal karmic patterns and past life themes, isn't that a form of prediction? You know, and where's the line between that drawn?
Well, the word prediction. So to me, and the way I'm talking is prediction says this will happen in your lifetime.
You're talking about the future.
Day.
I gotcha. Okay. Because I was just like, didn't we just say that? And then, okay. Sorry.
And because what is, we all have free will. That's the beauty of it.
Oh, yeah.
We can make the decision. So how does free will play out? We resist the energies that are in our chart. And when we resist the energies that we were born with, we need a library of self-help books. Yeah. Okay, because we're not fitting into the whole. It really is the source of angst. So
it really is, yes.
I meet with clients like we met. We read your birth chart. We know all about your natal energy, natal being another word for birth. And we looked at, the sky is always changing. We looked at how the planetary movements are going to interact with your birth chart over the coming years. That's what I call, and my teacher calls, the changing sky. And I can tell you that this energy is up. You're feeling it. But I cannot predict what you'll do with it.
Right, that's the free will portion of
That's the free will portion of it, and it's the environmental portion. And the more, it's the responsibility portion. You see? Yeah. It's so much easier not to take responsibility for our decisions and going along.
Yeah, but I also view this as, so with that information and what you just said, sometimes it just feels like, I just want to peek behind the curtain so I have the answer, and I'll be brave if I know what the answer is to make these changes and do. Yeah, that's why
I bring that forth in the consultation, and because you can't unknow what you know. And so you might
Very
forget,
crazy.
you might forget the consultation that we had in February.
Mhm.
But by summer, by fall, something will be happening and you'll be saying, "Oh, didn't Jeannie say
Yeah. Son
something?"
of a
And
bitch. She was right.
yeah, and go
Yeah.
pull that report and read
Yeah.
about it so that the mental, I call them mental machinations, how much we're
Mhm.
going to beat ourselves up,
Right.
can stop. Everything is for a
That's
plan.
wonderful.
There is a big plan.
So
And
I gotta tell you,
the big plan is moving towards your north node. But yes,
I've got multiple copies of that. So in the event that something pops up, I have it and I don't have to scrounge around for it. And I'm not kidding. I've got it in briefcases, backpacks. I got it in my car.
oh,
Um,
that's wonderful.
well, I don't know. It might be a little nutty, but it's just something that
It's
for
really
me, I need
it's
it.
really important. And I stress this with all of my clients. It's really important to get to know who you are through your birth chart, so it's not crazy.
I
Don't
appreciate
forget
that.
it. Don't forget it.
Yeah.
Keep going back to the blueprint because it always is who you are.
So let's talk a
Always.
little bit about that then, because if you're okay with that, I'd like you to go over my
Sure.
chart and the
Sure.
blueprint,
I'm
and
going to
then
screen share
maybe
now,
ask some
okay,
questions.
Jim?
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. There we
Can you
go.
see that? All right.
Not yet. There we are.
Yes.
Got
And
it.
so should I make it bigger?
If you can, that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, I won't be seeing you, but I'll be
That's
looking
okay.
at
It's
it
not
here.
important. I'm not important in this equation. I'm not.
Oh, this is all about you. Let's see. And I everyone will see I'm very passionate about this. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go all the way. First of all, this is Jim's. Anybody who consults with me receives a customized Know Your Stars report. I had many astrology readings in my lifetime, and I'd be on the screen and I'd be taking notes feverishly,
Mm,
and the session would end and I had nothing but scribbles, unless I wanted to listen to the whole
right.
audio again, which we
Yep.
don't. So it's just part of who I am. I want people to have something in their hand that gives them their orientation, their baseline forever,
Mhm.
right? So Jim, um, this is your cover sheet. And one of the things that I found straight out is you have an Aquarian sun, which I'll show the chart in a moment, and you have an Aquarian moon. So right out, you have the energy to innovate, to intellectualize, and to champion fall for and with all others. Podcast, amazing.
Mm,
And the need to be socially significant and unusual. That's an emotional need. Emotional need. We all have a moon and we all have a sun. And the sun tells us where our energy is and what the energy drive is. And, Aquarius is the sign of the genius. And the reason why it's the sign of the genius is it's the genius that will think outside the box and will come up with new things. That is why. So you have a very unique chart, and this is the chart right here for
mhm.
everybody to see. First of all, no one else has this. Only Jim does. Some people might have something like it if they were born close by him on that day at that time, but it's not his. Um, Astrology is a language of symbols. It appears complex. At some point, and maybe someday we will, I have a great overview that teaches people the simplicity about how to read their chart, very simple, so they can understand all these
Mhm.
symbols. But one of the things that stood out immediately to me, was down here in this number 3. This is your third house. The third house rules how we think, how we communicate, how we write, how we speak, how we perceive, how we communicate with the world. It's all things communication. Think of it like the antenna. And I
Right.
noticed immediately that you have this incredible lineup of these 4 planets, and I'll tell you what they are. It's Mercury and Mars and Saturn and Chiron, and they're all in the sign of Pisces. Pisces is the zodiac sign that rules spirituality and mysticism. So
Hmm.
straight out, there is a spiritual communication
This is
energy
so funny.
going on here. and in a very innovative way. And I say innovative because also in the third house, ahead of that Pisces lineup, is your sun. The sun is very important in a person's chart, like it is in the solar system. Everything evolves around it. You have an Aquarian sun. So you have that unique drive. And I loved in the last chapter of your book how you're telling everybody to go out there and be their unique selves, essentially.
Yes.
Because that is you. And so unique, but it's going to be your work in the world is going to be communication of a mystical, spiritual message in a very unique way. That there right there told me. Now I could go on, right? So just picking up on. So before I do that, here's your sun in Aquarius. That squiggly is Aquarius. And remember, I said your moon was in Aquarius.
Yes.
This is the moon here. It's in the second house. The second house rules resources. So for the audience, notice how I'm talking about planets, I'm talking about astrology signs, and I'm talking about houses. The astrologer uses those three things and integrates them, and the permutations are extraordinary. They really are. But those are the three things that you want to understand when you're working with an astrologer. They're going to be using that in other things. However, your moon is in the second house. Second house, yes, rules resources. We can think of money. We can think of skills. We can think of possessions. But we can also think of self-worth. Big way. All right.
Yeah.
So it rules self-worth. So your self-worth comes through your emotional need to innovate and be unique. And you're going to fill that emotional need by communicating to the masses in a teaching way. So now I'm going to leave the second house. I'm going to leave the third house. I'm going to come up to the ninth house here. The ninth house is the house of religion. Religion, yes, in terms of dogma, but also religion in terms of your belief system. And you, Jim, are striving to define your own. And I know that because of all these red lines, these oppositions. See, the middle of the wheel is your geometry. I like to call it sacred geometry. I love sacred geometry, but it's unique to you. So again, for the audience, it's about the zodiac signs, the planets, the houses, and it's about the middle. What angles are these planets forming to each other? And then therefore, where is the friction? Where is the where's the need for another self-help book coming from, right?
Sure, right.
Where's that friction? What's driving it? And so the red lines show us friction in terms of oppositions and what we call squares. And the blue lines show us harmonious energies with trines.
Not many of those there.
Sextiles, we call them. Right. And so all the more reason to know your stars, to use my tag phrase, because you now understand, and I know you understand a lot from our reading, that you were always going to be where you are now, getting into mysticism and spirituality. Either that or you were going to be laid up on someone's couch. All right.
Yeah.
You had to go there. And
both.
the ninth house, so these great oppositions to the ninth house rules, as I said, religion and your belief system. But it's the house of the teacher. And where the third house is the house of the student. You're very much the student in this lifetime, but you're seeking to transform by teaching. All right, so Pluto transformation in the teaching house in a very particular and analytical way, Virgo. These symbols, they're words, I know, but we know because we've written your report that's here that I've turned that into language for you. Another major thing I saw in your chart straight out that married in two things actually that married in the spirituality, and we bring this up because it's a lot of what your audience is listening to and your guests come in to speak about. A past life is the South Node. That's the upside down horseshoe.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it in the 12th house. So it's in the 12th house, which rules mysticism and spirituality. So there's a past life energy that links you to that world. And we talked about the fact that you were sequestered, cloistered
Mm-hmm.
into a belief system that you followed along, but that your voice was quieted. That's the essence of it. Now, how can I
Yes.
know that? Well, first of all, the South Node is in the 12th house of mysticism, spirituality, and it's in the sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the teacher. Remember I was saying about the teacher? So you have an incredible chart because it links the 9th house to the 3rd house, all about teaching and learning. And it links spirituality.
Yes.
It's uncanny. Now, and so in the South Node, there was this teacher that had a message that couldn't bring the message out. And that's the essence of your story. But in this lifetime, here we find the North Node. So the North Node is the soul's trajectory for this lifetime. It is the North Star. It is the point. It is the point in the chart that you must invoke.
Mm-hmm.
It will always call you. And the further you stay away from it, the more self-help books you're going to need.
Right.
All right. It's always calling, but you have to go to it. And, that what's interesting about this is it's in the sign of Gemini. Gemini rules everything I said about the 3rd house because it rules the 3rd house. So the energies are uncanny how they tie up for you. North Node in Gemini, all about teaching, communicating, thinking, writing, speaking.
Yes. Yep.
Is what you are to do as a daily job. It's in the 6th house. This is your day-to-day thing. This is how we work. It's work. All right. I can go back to your career in a moment, but the other interesting thing is this is big because this played into what held you back in the past lifetime. See, this planet here is Jupiter. So Jupiter is the planet that rules Sagittarius. So it's a very big planet in your chart. It is spiritual. It is religion. And we find it in the communicating sign of Gemini yet again. We find it in the 7th house where we relate to other people. All that is interesting, but what I really want to point out is this very strong red line that ties down to all these Pisces symbols from Jupiter to here, a square. So it's going to be uncomfortable to do what you're called to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be uncomfortable. There's a friction there, but you're being called to do it by that North Node. And one thing I'd like to point out, and then I'll turn back to you, is see this line here on the beginning of the 10th house. We look at the astrology wheel, and it's round. It's 360 degrees, and it's made up of 12 segments. We call them houses. A little bit of lesson there. And the beginning of each house is the cusp, and there are 4 major points in the whole wheel. The beginning of the 10th house is very important. It's your midheaven. And it's your midheaven, which is your career. We think of it in traditional terms of career. It's your life mission. It's in the sign of Libra. Libra rules relationships. So your career and your mission in the world and your legacy is all about relating with people in a balanced and harmonious way. So the fact that you work in executive coaching, terrific. And notice that there's no red lines coming up to that. I mean, it just it flowed very well for you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not your calling.
Yes.
It was that time. Now, How is that, Jim? Before I keep going.
I'll tell you what, that is, it's mind blowing to me that to hear it again, because I pick it all apart, right? When in different sections, and then to have it piece all together again, it's just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That really hits home. And it does. So the timing of the book, the
Mm.
podcast, and
Mm-hmm.
everything else. So the book is going to be released. I don't think it's going to get that specific necessarily, but the May 5th time frame.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's more that the book is being released when it's being released, like this year is
Mm-hmm.
probably
I'd love to do a
more.
chart for the day that it releases.
That would be really kind of cool.
Yeah,
I'd like to know
that is a
that.
type of astrology, not electional, that I like to get into because it will show the energy that your book will hold in the world.
I'll tell you what, let's do that for sure, because
Powerful.
and here's the thing, guys, it's not from an egotistical perspective that I'm looking at that, but, and hopefully everyone will either, so it's going to be on audiobook and then ebook and the printed version, but it wasn't an easy thing to write about because it's very personal and I'm very vulnerable.
Yeah.
And my hope was, much like with the podcast, that this is a safe place for someone to land and they won't think that they're weird or strange or going crazy or any of those things that we are so fast to label someone who's different with.
Mm.
And what I really want out of this is that if it helps somebody understand something, that's what I want. I really do, because not having that and not even knowing what to call it, I didn't know until just a couple, like a couple of years ago what it was. What my buddy Nate, who just interviewed me, and it was released recently, the episode. He Googled it right away. I did not. I just kept thinking there was something wrong,
Mm.
and there wasn't. There wasn't anything wrong. But
There's
anyway,
never anything wrong with any of us. That's the thing. When we were talking about living from the inside out,
mhm, yeah,
we're conditioned to think there's something wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with
absolutely
any of
correct.
us.
Absolutely correct. And
That makes me mad.
yeah, you know what? I just
I have a
think,
protection thing in me.
well, so I guess I have one built in as well, because growing up I was bullied a lot. And so it always reminds me of the movie with The Rock and Kevin Hart, where I don't like bullies, and I don't like bullies. I don't like bullies.
Me either.
So there's a soft spot in my
Mm-hmm.
heart for that, and I'm very protective in that nature, which again is why I do the podcast, which is why I wrote the book. And I don't know that it's necessarily to evangelize all of this, but maybe it is. My thing was that I want to normalize it all. Yeah, I don't want it to be the giving somebody the side eye and talking out of covering their mouth and saying, "Did you hear what that guy said? He's weird. He's crazy." I don't want that. I just want it to be normal, because this has been going on for years. From the beginning of time, this
Yes.
sort of thing has been going on. So this is nothing new.
Mm-hmm.
What's happened is, well, actually, what my belief is that we're going to see some big changes from here for a while in our culture, in humanity, in the
We
way we treat
absolutely are.
people and observe people. I think it's going to be
We're in the biggest
quite
reset
something.
astrologically that humanity has ever known and had. That could be another podcast.
No, yeah,
It's uncanny.
absolutely. It
Yes.
is. Well, why don't we do this? Why
Sure.
don't we get to some of the questions that
Okay.
I have, and then we'll wrap it up. I'll just ask I'll ask one or two.
Okay.
I'll do two.
Mhm.
Um, because you wrote something in the reading that really, I don't know, I guess just stopped me cold,
I'm
which
looking
is,
to the right because I have your whole report
oh,
here.
that's totally fine. Thank you. Thank you. You create originality in order to feel secure. And I've never heard my relationship with creativity being described that way. Can you maybe lay
Sure.
that out a little bit more?
Yes, and I've actually got your report here. Remember I talked about your sun is in Aquarius and your moon is in Aquarius,
Yes.
right? But your moon is
Mhm.
in the second house. With an Aquarian moon, your emotional need is to feel distinct, socially relevant, mentally respected. In the second house, it links directly to self-worth because the second house rules self-worth. Security for you is not only financial, we'll leave that out, but because both your sun and moon are in Aquarius, the theme is doubled for Aquarian. Identity and emotional stability are drawing from the same archetype. You seek
Mhm.
independence, not just intellectually, but emotionally. The sun fulfills your moon's need by generating ideas. You create originality in order to feel secure. So, creating original ideas fuels the security that your moon needs in that second house.
Hmm. Okay.
Original ideas. But you probably feel that.
Yeah. I would say that I do. I know from the intellectual aspect. I certainly do, because I guess when somebody's dismissive or condescending,
Hmm.
that's like bullying to me. And it
Hmm.
just, we talk about things that trigger, and
Mm,
you talk about trying to elevate and on that path of enlightenment. Well, things shouldn't trigger you. Well, I'm still human. And when
hmm.
somebody treats somebody else like garbage, I have a problem with it.
Right.
Everybody's got their
Well,
own gifts.
Aquarius rules humanity. It is the sign of
Uh,
humanity. So you're going to have a problem with emotionally,
mhm,
people being mistreated.
yeah. So I'll ask one more question, and then
Sure.
we'll move on to the musical questions, if that's okay. And we'll
Yeah.
locate those too, because I know we're running out of time. But I know, I'm sorry. But
Okay, we'll save them for next time.
yes, I was just going to say we'll do that for the next go around. And you wrote, liberation occurs when certainty becomes inquiry. That's one of the most precise things anyone has ever said about where I'm headed. And my whole spiritual journey
Liberation.
has been
Yeah.
about having certainty dismantled, much like everybody else's, right? And being forced into questions I didn't ask for. Did my chart show that this was coming? And is there a point where the inquiry kind of settles down, or does it just remain the
Well, I
practice
had
for
to
the rest
look
of
and
my
see
life?
where that was in the report. Here we're talking about your North Node,
Hmm.
and we're talking about your evolutionary story. So the South Node and the North Node. Um, and so the liberation, I want to find that again. Right. Oh, wow, it comes up again with Uranus, but it's all about identity participating in your karma. Um, you I can't pull it off the top of my head
That's
without
okay. That's okay.
spinning
I'm
all
sorry.
this back in my head.
I didn't mean
No, that's okay.
to
It's a good
derail us on
statement.
that. I was just kind of curious. Obviously it's selfish, so
No,
I
no, no, no.
apologize for that. But there is that piece that you go, okay, is this just who I am now? Is this how it's going to be all the time?
Oh,
Which I don't really mind, by the way, but
you
it's
were
just,
always that.
yeah. And we talked about that beforehand, where you're just coming back to who you've always been, and it's
Yes.
that naturally inquisitive
Yes.
thing. And especially when it comes to the topics of spirituality
But
or
what's
within
interesting,
spirituality.
sorry to interrupt you, Jim,
No, no.
you speak of ADHD, which is interesting, and inquiry, right? But
Mhm.
take a look at that third house. Your mind never stops.
No, it does not.
Okay.
No,
So,
no.
we can say it's ADHD. I mean, we can say it's a very active third house. Your mind is always going. It never stops and it's never going to stop. You were born with that. You chose that.
Okay.
Okay.
And
You're
yeah.
you're a constant thinker. And not only that, remember the North Node is in Gemini. Gemini is the same
Mm,
energy, thinking,
yeah.
thinking, thinking all the
Yes.
time. And you bring in that in with Aquarius, the innovator, you're always thinking of new ideas.
That 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 is true. You know,
So you'll
one
always be
thing.
that way.
Well, yeah, and I'm cool with it. Like I said, other people aren't as much, but I am, and I think what it really does is it bodes well for everybody else that has an opportunity to listen to these shows and our episodes. But um, can you do me a favor? Go ahead
Sure.
and take the share off. Um,
Absolutely.
but one of the things that Jeannie said to me in our session was, and and there's going to be a lot of people that believe this, so that we choose when we're going to be born and who our parents are going to be, right? That's our choice as a spirit, as a soul that's coming back into an incarnation.
Yes.
And when Jeannie did my chart, she said, "Oh wow, you did this and it was intentional because you waited until 6 minutes past the
Hmm.
hour because it would get you in exact alignment for where you
Hmm.
are today."
Yep.
And I was just like, mind blown right there. It's like, well, what? um, but
It
it
was
all
your
makes
nodes.
sense to me.
Your nodes are at 5 minutes of Sagittarius on the south and 5 minutes of Gemini on the north. You waited for that nodal setup.
It's just
That
nuts.
and I say that I've studied a lot, of course, and I've had big very very experienced astrologers say that to me on a couple of points in my chart. So yes, you waited for that particular moment.
That's kind of cool.
And when I say we choose our parents, metaphysically we want to think about it this way. The energy that we leave this lifetime in is the
Hmm.
energy we come back in
Right.
to further the journey.
So
Okay.
isn't that something when that statement right there to me means this, and it's very probably oversimplified, but keep do the best you can, be the best person you can, give the best energy you can, and leave it all out on the
Yes.
field. You don't get to take it with you. Energy
Yes.
stays here.
Energy
And
stays
if it's not good,
there. Mm-hmm.
keep in mind you're going to come back into it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a
Mm-hmm.
boomerang.
It
And if
is.
you're going to come back into it, there are people that believe that you don't continually incarnate or reincarnate. There comes a point in time when you reach that state where you're okay, I'm going to do this from now on. But if you are going to reincarnate, it'd be better to come into something a little nicer and better than you left it. So
We're all in it together.
yeah. Oh yeah. Unity consciousness, servitude, all of it. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Thank you so much for all of that.
You're
It
very,
is
very welcome.
just amazing. And that was not BS or being polite or anything.
No.
I
Well,
could see
I
doing
have
a
to interrupt you.
series.
You used the word service, so I just looked back at your chart because I remembered your North Node is in the sixth house, which is, the house of service. You must
I,
serve.
so in my book, I don't know if you read that chapter or not, I talk about service, and I have a hard time describing that as it coming out as something new and, that you have to really try to do it because it's been a part of my life, my entire life.
Yes.
And it's just
Yes.
a natural thing. It's like, oh, okay, whatever. To me, it's a nothing because I don't have to try to do anything like that. It just happens. So anyway, thank you again. I
You're
appreciate that.
welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
My goodness.
So that-
And you are definitely coming back. So this is the point in our show where anyone can tell you that's listened to the podcast before, where we ask the guests some musical questions. And are you ready to go with these?
I am. I loved this. I got to think about all my songs.
All right, fantastic. Then let's get rocking and rolling here. What was the first song you fell in love with from the radio, or you can remember saying, I can't wait to hear that one again?
Daydream Believer from the Monkees.
Monkees, yeah.
And I was really young and I didn't understand it so much, but it said, "Wake up, sleepy Jeanne." That's a lyric, right? Wake up, sleepy Jeanne. And I didn't know what wake up truly meant. Of course, now I know what they were saying, but it was like telling me to wake up from a dream. And I think I was 8, 9, 10 years old. And the white knight on the steed. I learned later in life what that meant. That was a fantasy too, you know?
Yeah. Fantastic, though.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So I won't ask you the road trip from a childhood, but maybe so I did this the other day in my interview. I didn't have one from growing up with family or anything like that, but I had one with some of my college friends, when we were road trip, we were belting out a song. Did you have anything like that?
No.
Okay.
Nothing. And I did, from the childhood, the thing that came forward was every Christmas Eve, Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Oh, yeah. Christmas time is here. Yeah.
The record player would finally go on once a year. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
We had a great time with that.
Fantastic. How about in high school? Your senior year of high school. Was there a favorite song you and your friends would belt out?
Sonny and Cher, "I Got You, Babe."
I Got You, Babe, yeah.
We were all lined up. We had the hairbrushes as microphones. Yes.
That's fantastic.
That was it. We were having a good time.
Love it. Love it. Do you have a guilty pleasure song?
My guilty pleasure song. Let's see. I did have that, and I'm looking for my guilty. Yes. "Ain't No Mountain High Enough."
Oh, cool. Like it.
Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell, the original.
Like it.
The ultimate love song, full of romance and hope.
That is true. That's very true. So I'm going to skip to my favorite and last question, and then I'll get us on out of here. Sometimes there are songs that you hear that ring so true that they stop you in your tracks. The song's lyrics sound like they were written specifically for you or by you. What's that song?
That song I couldn't come up with, but I'm going to back up to, I'm going to come back. I spent more time thinking about for all of us.
Okay.
"Bring Me a Higher Love" by Steve Winwood.
Oh, yeah.
"Bring me a higher love." It says, think about it. There must be higher love.
Yeah, I love it. That's a good one.
Yeah. Bring me a higher love.
That's a good one. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate this. And you will come back and we'll do this again.
Wonderful.
Now it's just about time to cue the music for today's episode, but don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Drop the Needle podcast to stay up to date on our latest episodes. I'd also like to take a moment to say thank you for tuning in today, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Drop the Needle podcast. I'd also like to thank our very special guest, Jeanne Comeau, for being on the show today. Jeannie, do you have anything that you'd like to promote, or how can people get in touch with you? JeannieComeau.com, and get to know who you are, get oriented, get your feet firmly on the ground. Thank you. And I'll make sure to put everything in the show notes and socials and everything else. So, all right, my Drop the Needle posse, like Billy Joel says, from the highs to the lows to the end of the show. This is the end of our show. Until next time, this is Jim Allstott wishing you infinite health, happiness, and the perfect playlist for your life. Thank you again for being the best part. Catch you next time.